I don't know about you, but the weather here in Florida seems to be fluctuating a lot lately. One day it's 40-degree weather, the next day it's 80-degree weather. It's like we're experiencing spring and winter. This all got me interested in the topic of climate change. To begin our research, me and my group started by asking some students around campus what they thought about climate change.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you know about climate change?
Probably like a 4, 4.5.
I'm gonna go with maybe a 3.
I would say probably about a 3.
So I would say I know, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, it would be like a 3 or a 4, and I get most of my information from Twitter. And being that our current president does not believe in climate change, there's a lot of headlines about or trying to refute his disbelief in climate change. So the number has grown a little bit from 3 to 4.
I went to speak to some experts that may help me understand climate change a bit better. One thing I feel like most people do not know is that there's a slight difference between climate change and global warming.
Global warming refers to a very specific general warming of the surface of the planet in the last 150 years or so, primarily due to the increase in greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide and methane. Climate change refers to all the different ways and time scales at which climate changes, and both natural and man-made causes, and different aspects of a changing climate, changes in precipitation, regional changes, sea level rise. All that is under the broad envelope of climate change.
Be worried, and what habits basically should we change as human beings if we should be worried?
Yes, certainly we should be worried, and there needs to be an international cooperation and action on climate. Right now, our carbon dioxide emissions globally continue to rise. They rose again this year by about 2%, I believe. And as we put more and more carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, the climate system will continue to warm, and other aspects of our climate system will change. In some ways we can anticipate, other ways that we don't fully understand yet. So yes, it's very prudent to slow or even reduce our emissions of greenhouse gases so we can slow this process down.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the, definitely politically, it's one of the biggest issues of our time in the sense that it's gotten into politics. But yeah, it's a big issue within the more science side of things too. The rate of warming globally is it's faster than any time since at least the medieval climate anomaly found, and that was back in the first century AD, or not first millennium AD, sorry, and maybe go back before that even. So there's that, and then as far as we're concerned here in Florida, global warming is leading to just several different climate changes. One of the changes is an increase in sea level, and that's leading to more rainy day flooding, for instance. So that's like at certain times of the year, especially like in South Florida and places like Miami and so forth. Like in the early fall, early summer, there's this phenomenon called king tides, and that's always happened, and that's that relates to strictly to astronomical conditions. However, when you add sea level rise to it, that's causing those king tides to be larger and larger than ever before, and it's flooding streets and neighborhoods. Several different coastal areas of Florida and also other states. Extreme heat during the late spring to early fall might become a bigger human health hazard in Florida and other places that are in the southern and even central part of the United States. So there's some efforts being made to quantify how much worse that situation might become and how to mitigate that in terms of public health responses.
Do you feel like there is enough information being distributed through like mass media outlets about environmental concerns like
No.
climate change?
No,
No?
not enough, because they talk about stupid political stuff all the time that doesn't matter, but then they don't talk about like the important things.
I don't really like immerse myself in like trying to gain knowledge about it, and it's not really on media like other things are, like more trivial things that like I guess like rake in money rather than help what's important.
I think media outlets do a disservice to learning about climate change by presenting like opposition to like people who think that climate change isn't real.
I do think they do a disservice. I think they feel like they need to have both ends of the argument being dictated, but I think when it's like a huge problem like this, I don't think we should be like discrediting something that's like potentially like destroying our future.
There definitely should be more coverage about environmental concerns, but being that news networks are controlled by corporations, I don't see it happening, which is why I get my information from social media.
So what about the government? What have they done to help contribute to the solution of this issue?
On the national scale, under the Obama administration, he passed the Clean Power Plan with EPA, and the goal was to cut emissions, carbon dioxide emissions from power generation by close to 30% by the year 2030. The good news is that process had already begun because of the availability and affordability of natural gas. Many of our generating facilities have switched over to using natural gas, which emits less carbon dioxide, is more efficient. So there is this broad scale switch from coal to natural gas going on right now, but the Clean Power Act would have accelerated that. Unfortunately, that got held up in court, and now with the new administration, there's really not a lot of action going forward from the federal government. However, the utilities themselves are just seeing economic sense to continue this process of conversion to natural gas. So there is still some momentum in reducing our emissions that way.
Now that we know what things climate change can do, I want to know what were the ways that we could help solve climate change.
I would say people can generally try to follow habits of conservation. I mean, if you're not using a room in your house and you have a light on, you should turn it off. If you have a way not to, you have an errand to run or work to go to, and you have a way of not driving, try to walk or use public transportation or ride your bike, something like that. I mean, just kind of just look at different aspects of your life, and if you can see obvious ways that you're being wasteful of things that emit carbon, and just try to avoid doing those things. And if everybody did that, I mean, that would make a big difference.
So, moral of the story is, if you want to contribute to not destroying the earth more than we already have, turn off the water, try walking instead of using your car so much, and of course, turn off your lights. The end. So, what about the government? What have they done to help contribute to the solution of this issue?